The backstage atmosphere for CM Punk's WWE Monday Night Raw return has been revealed. He was reportedly very nice, humble, and in a good mood. We've got plenty more details surrounding the backstage environment and reaction to Punk's return last night. The AEW World Champion MJF reportedly is legitimately injured after he posted and then deleted a tweet revealing he has suffered a torn labrum, although he is expected to still defend his AEW World Championship against Samoa Joe at the World's End pay-per-view. QT Marshall shockingly resigns from All Elite Wrestling from his vice president position. We've got plenty of details surrounding his shock departure, his frustrations with AEW, and how he felt like the company was becoming too much like New Japan Pro Wrestling. We got an update on the ratings for last Wednesday's edition of AEW Dynamite. Cody Rhodes officially declares his entry for the 2024 Men's Royal Rumble match, but is attacked by Shinsuke Nakamura on Raw. Randy Orton competes in his first Raw match in 18 months. Seth Rollins is set to defend the World Heavyweight title against Jay Uso next week. And Brian Danielson posts a cryptic tweet to social media about All Elite Wrestling. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's start off talking about CM Punk. Plenty of people still talking about his return to WWE, his return to Monday Night Raw last night, as well as his first promo back in a WWE ring for the first time in nearly 10 years. Now, he posted a video about that. We obviously had the watch-along, the post-show, and a news video wrapping up what Punk said. But an update has emerged on the backstage reaction to CM Punk returning to WWE. Following his recent appearances for the company. Of course, Punk made a surprise appearance in the final moments of Survivor Series War Games. Following confirmation that he had rejoined the company, Punk next appeared on Raw, where he told fans that he's finally home. Per Dave Meltzer on the latest edition of Wrestling Observer Radio, quote, "There was no major negativity backstage at Raw for Punk's return. Seth Rollins has been playing up potential heat with Punk, including the viral clip right after Survivor Series and calling him a hypocrite on Raw, but it's believed that the two will eventually have a match at some point in the future." Punk's Raw appearance this week marked the first time ever Punk's been on the red brand since January 2014, with Punk leaving WWE after the 2014 Royal Rumble event. Now, in addition to that, as I mentioned, there was actually quite a lot of other reporting about this positive backstage environment last night. WrestleVotes has tweeted out the following, saying, quote, "I'm told everything at Raw was good last night as far as camaraderie backstage throughout the day in Nashville. One source went as far as to say the energy was as high as it's been in years. Things look and sound like we're off to a great start." Now, this reporting has largely been echoed by other sources. PW Insider is reporting that, according to sources, CM Punk saying his reception backstage in WWE was, quote, "all love," is absolutely accurate. According to multiple accounts, Punk tried to approach everybody and was, quote, "very nice, humble, and in a good mood." One wrestler added, quote, "but he knew that he kind of had to be." Another said everything, quote, "seemed pretty positive all around, but we'll see in a couple months if it sticks," end quote. Now, as I mentioned, they continued by saying that he was humble and was very approachable, but indeed we'll have to wait and see if CM Punk can keep up this kind of behavior. What did you think of Punk's return? What did you think of his promo? What are your thoughts on the backstage environment being positive thus far? Do you think it will stay like this, or like in AEW where things started out positive, will it sour quickly? Let me know your thoughts about it in the comments section below. Now, MJF reportedly is dealing with a legitimate injury. MJF actually tweeted out the following yesterday, which got a lot of people talking. We knew that he was dealing with a hip injury that he suffered at AEW Full Gear against Jay White, but he's also dealing with a shoulder injury. He posted out the following saying, quote, "I just got an MRI. I tore my labrum in my left shoulder. I'll be defending my title at World's End. I believe in AEW." Now, he very quickly deleted this post, but it still left many people wondering, is it a work? Is it real? Well, according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, MJF tweeted and deleted details regarding an injury he has sustained, and Fightful are reporting they have been told the injury is indeed legitimate. MJF tweeted that he has a torn labrum after getting an MRI. Now, while Fightful can't confirm themselves that he got an MRI, he had told people at AEW last week that he believed he'd torn his shoulder. He's still expected to compete at AEW World's End. He will be undergoing treatment and is hoping to avoid surgery. He sustained the injury during the AEW Full Gear top rope Uranagi spot. He'd also sustained a hip injury during the elbow drop to the outside, in which he was supposed to do the elbow drop through the announce table to Jay White, but the table broke. Therefore, he just did it anyway, and Apparently, he popped out his hip and it had to be put back in. Now, Dave Meltzer has commented on this on Wrestling Observer Radio, saying, quote, "The swelling is down on his hip, but the pain is not down. He's hurting on the hip. Obviously, the shoulder is, I guess, more serious of the two injuries. He's not going to have surgery, but he will have rehab and stem cell treatment. It's a pretty big tear. He had this exact tear right before the Jungle Boy pay-per-view match, the one where they really killed it. He had the same tear, but this tear is worse than that one. So it's a pretty big tear." So Meltzer suggesting that it's quite a severe injury. He's not going to undergo surgery. He is expected to wrestle at World's End, but as far as TV matches, he's probably going to have to take some time off for that, but he's not expected to miss any TV time. What are your thoughts on this? Yet another injury to a top star in AEW. What are your thoughts on the landscape right now when it comes to the top stars in AEW, and what do you think this means for MJF and possibly the outcome of the World's End pay-per-view as well? Let me know your thoughts about that too. Now, QT Marshall shocked the wrestling world last night when he announced his resignation from All Elite Wrestling. Taking to Twitter yesterday, QT Marshall announced that after being with the company since day one, he had officially resigned from All Elite Wrestling and will have fulfilled his obligations by the end of 2023. He posted the following to social media saying, quote, "Thank you, AEW. Thank you, Tony Khan. I've had the privilege of being here since day one, and I've written over 750 formats for All Elite Wrestling, and always with pride. As much as I've enjoyed being a VP, manager of talent relations, and wearing a myriad of hats, the company has changed a lot since 2019, and is heading in a different direction, and I feel it's best I do the same, as we only get one chance to go all in. I have officially resigned from AEW and will have fulfilled all my obligations by the end of 2023. Thank you to everyone from the front office, to the production truck, to some of the hardest working talent in this sport. Most importantly, thank you to those who booed, cheered, and took part in this season of my life." Now, it had been reported that he had signed a small extension to his AEW contract earlier this year, but that was until the end of the year, and these are the these are the obligations that he's talking about here. Now, on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer spoke about the frustrations that QT Marshall has expressed recently by saying, quote, "I have heard from many, many people, some of whom did not know that this was happening, and most of whom who did, so this was not a secret. Some have known for weeks, some have known for months. People have talked to him, he's expressed his frustrations. There have been things that have happened. QT had a very well-paying job. He was a vice president of creative and talent. He's no longer doing the formats, but he did those for years. I think there's a lot of things that have been said. One thing with QT, and it's a big one, QT wants to be a wrestling star, and it wasn't going to happen in AEW. I know he expressed frustration to a lot of people about that, feeling he's had good matches, but he's not been positioned to be a wrestling star there. Of everyone that I heard from, not one had anything bad to say about QT, and most were sympathetic towards him. A lot of talent tweeted it, but a lot of talent privately, very supportive of QT and understanding his position. Of course, QT Marshall was the leader of the factory in AEW, teaming with Aaron Solo, Nick Comoroto, Anthony Ogogo, Cole Carter, and Lee Johnson, and then moved on to the QTV with Solo, Harley Cameron, and Johnny TV, the former John Morrison. His last match in AEW to date was a dark match at the October 25 Dynamite, in which QTV, that was Marshall, Solo, and Johnny TV, defeated Brandon Cutler, Colt Cabana, and Lindsay Dorado. Of course, QT Marshall was also the head trainer at the Cody Rhodes Nightmare Factory in Atlanta, Georgia. But there's probably a bit more to this as well. As I mentioned last night, as fans were preparing to hear from CM Punk on Raw for the first time in nearly a decade, another star announced they were leaving AEW. That was QT Marshall. Now, Marshall is a close friend of Cody Rhodes and helps run the Nightmare Factory training school alongside him. Shortly after AEW was launched, Marshall was brought into the promotion to work as a talent and backstage producer. At one point, Marshall worked as AEW President Tony Khan's right-hand man, helping piece together AEW shows based on what Khan wanted to see. Now, Nick Hausman is reporting that House of Wrestling has learned that following Rhodes' departure from AEW, Marshall's backstage influence began to deteriorate quickly. While still liked by many, others closer to those in power were given the chance to work alongside Khan. At the same time, Marshall had become vocal about his desire to work as an in-ring performer rather than as a backstage coach. Due to those reasons, everyone that Nick Hausman has spoken with in AEW and WWE since Marshall's announcement last night has not been surprised by his decision. Curiously, one of the reasons he listed for his AEW resignation was that he felt the company had changed since its inception in 2019 and was now moving in a new direction. Based on those that Nick Hausman has spoken to close to Marshall, he was alluding to the fact he believes AEW is heading in a more New Japan Pro Wrestling related direction that is more focused on matches than storytelling. When asking around about why Khan is going that way, one source told Nick Hausman flatly, quote, "TK has always liked that style," end quote. As for what Marshall wants to do now, Hausman is told that he is focused on having fun, wrestling, and improving as a performer. Many that Nick Hausman spoke with believed that Marshall, being good friends with Rhodes, could be in a position to move into a coaching role at the WWE Performance Center. However, when speaking to those close to Marshall, Hausman was told that he is primarily interested in wrestling for WWE, as he has his own successful school where he can train talent. At the moment, he does not believe that WWE will allow him to wrestle and coach, which he may be open to if it were an option. Those that House of Wrestling spoke to, close to the WWE side, said they were skeptical that WWE would be interested in hiring Marshall strictly as a performer, but were unsure as to how much pull Cody Rhodes has at the moment. One person that House of Wrestling spoke to relayed how Marshall was hesitant to take some moves the last time he worked for WWE due to issues with his neck. That said, his creativity was highlighted as a plus, and a coaching role was not ruled out. But it was also mentioned how many quality people the company already has in backstage roles. So what do you think happens next with QT Marshall now that he's leaving AEW? Do you expect him to go to WWE? Do you think he could go to WWE as a performer? Is he a bit deluded to think he would go to WWE just as a wrestler? Is his best chance to get into WWE be as a producer, as a coach, and maybe a bit like Nick Aldis, maybe work his way through that way? Let me know your thoughts about that. Let me know your thoughts about AEW becoming possibly more like New Japan Pro Wrestling. Let me know your thoughts about all of it in the comment section below. Now, we finally got the ratings for AEW Dynamite last Wednesday. Of course, there was a delay due to Thanksgiving weekend. And last Wednesday's episode of AEW Dynamite averaged 845,000 viewers on TBS, which is up 2.7% from the previous week. It was the second highest audience total for the show since September 27. Dynamite drew a 0.26 rating in the 18 to 49 demo. That's down 7.1% from a week earlier and ties the third lowest rating Dynamite has done in the demo all year. This was the Thanksgiving Eve edition of Dynamite, typically a down night for viewership. The show did have an advantage of being the Full Gear Fallout episode, as well as the beginning of AEW's Continental Classic tournament. As compared to the same week in 2022, Dynamite's overall audience was down 4%, while its 18 to 49 rating was down a whopping 18.8%. So what are your thoughts on those ratings, those numbers? Are they good considering it was Thanksgiving Eve, or is it just a case of that's where AEW is at this point in time? Always around 800 to 900,000 viewers, but nowhere near a million. How can they improve that? Let me know your thoughts, your predictions about that as well. Cody Rhodes has declared his entry for the men's Royal Rumble match next year in January 2024. Cody Rhodes is preparing and once again trying to finish the story at the 2024 Royal Rumble event in St. Petersburg, Florida. On Monday's episode of Raw, Rhodes declared himself as the first entrant in the men's Royal Rumble match, though his exact position is unknown. But following his announcement, Rhodes was confronted by the Titantron by Shinsuke Nakamura, who had been teasing a privileged opponent for the past several weeks. Nakamura told Rhodes that he needed Rhodes' help to evolve before appearing in the darkened ring and spraying Rhodes with red mist when the lights came back up. The Royal Rumble event will emanate from Tropicana Field in the Tampa Bay area on January 27. Rhodes looks to win the Rumble and finish the story, which he has heavily implied he will once again challenge Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship, a bout Rhodes failed to capture at WrestleMania 39 earlier this year. But it seems Rhodes will have to deal with Nakamura first, however. With no premium live events scheduled between now and the Rumble, it's unknown when this confrontation between the two will take place. Randy Orton was back on Raw last night competing in his first match in almost 18 months and got a victory over a Judgment Day member thanks to a music star. Randy Orton hasn't missed a beat in his return to the ring after 18 months on the injured list. On Saturday, he helped his War Games team take down Drew McIntyre and the Judgment Day. On Monday, he defeated Dominic Mysterio on Raw in a match set up by a show-opening encounter between himself and Rhea Ripley. Orton did get a little help in his match from the celebrity recording artist Jelly Roll, who was sitting ringside after appearing earlier in the episode during a backstage segment featuring Alpha Academy and the New Day. Jelly Roll ended up serving as a distraction to Mysterio and his Judgment Day stablemate JD McDonough, helping Orton gain the advantage outside the ring. Orton ultimately took a 619 from Mysterio, but dodged an ensuing frog splash and hit an RKO for the win. It was Orton's first Raw match since May 9, 2022, when Orton and his since-released tag team partner Matt Riddle defeated the Street Profits. Though Orton's personal doctors had advised him against stepping back inside the squared circle, he recently said he'd be wrestling for another decade post-Survivor Series. While Orton is currently dealing with the Judgment Day, he stated in his opening promo that he was here to renew hostilities with the Bloodline, the group responsible for writing him off television after his injury, though for the time being, he seems to have squashed any beef against former Bloodline member and now Raw superstar Jay Uso. But you can never trust the Viper, so you might have to watch his back, Jay Uso, when it comes to all of that. Next week, we have a World Heavyweight title match set for Raw. Seth Rollins is going to defend his title against the aforementioned Jay Uso. On Monday night, World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins told the Nashville, Tennessee crowd at Raw that even though he wasn't feeling 100% following War Games at Survivor Series, he was getting the itch to defend his title again. Though Drew McIntyre met Rollins in the ring to throw his hat into the mix, Rollins quickly told McIntyre that next week on Raw, he'd be defending against main event Jay Uso instead. McIntyre was reminded by Rollins he'd had a title opportunity not too long ago at Crown Jewel when the championship was successfully defended, and told him that there were others, including Uso, ahead of him in line. The Scottish Warrior was none too pleased with the news, smashing Rollins with a headbutt that actually bloodied his own forehead. Uso hit the ring to defend Rollins, delivering a super kick of his own, and then one in tandem with the champion before McIntyre retreated. Later, a backstage segment led to McIntyre getting a different match next Monday against Sami Zayn instead. Rollins' defense against Uso will be the 9th of his current championship reign, which began in May at Night of Champions when he defeated AJ Styles in the final of a tournament to crown a new title holder. Uso's last world title opportunity, meanwhile, came in August at SummerSlam when he unsuccessfully challenged his cousin Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship in Tribal Combat. Of course, they were teammates at Survivor Series War Games, but next week they are opponents. And finally, Brian Danielson has been a bit cryptic about AEW on social media. AEW star Brian Danielson has shared a message for AEW, noting that the right thing is often the hardest thing to do. The former WWE star took to Twitter to share the life lesson his late father taught him, stating that he always tried to do what's right. Danielson writes, quote, "My dad always told me the right thing is often the hardest thing to do. It won't always make the most money, it won't always be the most popular, but it's still the right thing. Hashtag AEW." Now, Danielson hasn't wrestled since the October 25 edition of Dynamite, when he and Claudio Castagnoli defeated Orange Cassidy and New Japan's Kazuchika Okada in singles action. He's preparing for his return and is set to compete in the AEW Continental Classic Round Robin tournament. Danielson is set to face off against Eddie Kingston on the December 2nd edition of Collision in a match for the Blue League block. Kingston already had a match in the tournament, losing to Brody King on the November 25 show. The winner of the tournament will be recognized as a Triple Crown champion, winning the Ring of Honor World, New Japan Strong Openweight, and the AEW Continental titles in 3 titles merged together. Before the match against Kingston, Danielson will be on commentary on Dynamite on Wednesday. But there you go, guys. That's the latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.